soon as I walked into the spin, one's nutted out and another one's nutted out. I'm like, you idiot. The short rod ripped. It sort of almost went over my middle rod, and the middle rod went pulled up tight, and I was like, you know when you're like looking at the line thinking, has it gone over? And I was like, fuck, it hasn't. Picked up the other rod, walked back and got that away from the island. But this is also trying to get in the island. That one's going. So I'm thinking, oh no.
Yeah, I think people get too over the top with carp spawning.
Yeah. No, I think
two on at once.
There's probably quite a lot to unpack with it, I think.
Yeah.
I don't want to fish for spawning carp. Everyone gets to a spot where they're pretending they care about them too much. I think there's a lot of virtue signalling with it. Yeah. It's like, oh, I really care about it. You don't. You're the bad person. I'm the good person. Yeah. Where it's like, well, you're fishing for them.
Yeah, it's a difficult. I think this is a subject.
Got to sit on the fence.
I agree with you too.
Thinking Tackle Podcast.
Welcome to the Thinking Tackle UNCUT podcast. Now, if you're listening, you won't know, and if you're watching, you will. We are a man down. It's myself, Adam Reed, Damian Clarke, and Tom Dove, because Neil seems to have taken up fishing literally full time.
He's the most expensive full-timer we've got, Spooner.
No, he's not.
Oh, no, Dan is.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's been on the bank for about a week and he's still going. So fair play to him. But he has caught an incredible carp in the last 48 hours, 24 hours, that he'll talk about when he's next in, I'm sure, and show off about. It's not the magical 50, so I can say that, but...
Belter, though.
Belter.
Lovely one.
But speaking of that, we will just start off by showing this off, which is, if you listen to the last podcast, you'll know Damo wanted to put together a cup for everyone that catches a 50-pounder before Spooner does. This thing
not for every single person, Keys.
Well, no, not
one person a week.
One person a week, but are we going to get that? I mean, we'd be very lucky to get that. It's got to be a UK 50.
Yeah. We've got to be able to see the date stamp on the raw file or the camera file.
Are you gonna get precious about where it's from?
It's got to be from the UK.
Okay, but
big grey.
We're just going to decide between us
what's the most worthy. Okay, that's fine.
Okay, well, we've got a few of them, and our friends at YETI have kindly got involved, and they have supplied us with these YETI coffee tumblers, which have been laser etched with the Thinking Tackle UNCUT podcast logo one side and Spifters Spooners 50 Club on the other side. It looks amazing, and we've all said as soon as we saw them come in last week, I'd like one of them, and me and you, Damo, just missed out. We'd have got one.
You're not going to give yourselves one?
Well, if we catch one now, we're in the game, aren't we? I'll supply the raw file. I want one of these.
Yeah, I'll get one later.
Yeah, you'll get one. I'll get one.
I'll have one in
If I
June.
want one, I'll have one. But please get involved. Like I said, it's going to be a pretty unique thing to have. Look really cool. And I don't know how many we're going to give out, but we're not going to give out loads. So it's going to be quite a specialist little cup.
Yeah, nice. Oh, have you been following Spooner's stories of you on Instagram?
Yeah.
How good are them glasses?
Oh, the meta ones. Yeah,
really they are really good.
Yeah, good.
Have you got some?
I've got some. Well, he come in to me and said, "Do you reckon realistically are they going to be any good for what I'm using them for?" And I went, well, they are, because whereas before when you're out doing those takeovers and stuff, you've always got one hand taken up with the mobile phone, haven't you, when you're on your own?
So you can't do rigs.
So you can't ever really do rigs. You can't cast. You can't point with both hands and reference stuff. So just the fact now your hand's free, it's like a POV, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's just adds a whole new dynamic to the stories, I think. And
I thought they were really engaging. Like, I hate Spooner, but I was still watching them.
Yeah.
It's like they're really, really good.
I think it's new and it's fresh, and it's like you said, you feel like you're almost in the session with them, don't you?
I thought it was really good.
And I think playing the carp and getting to, like, obviously at some point, imagine if he lands his first 50-pounder with those on.
Mate, it looks like he can spod like 10,000 yards.
Yeah,
because they sort of fish eye here, they.
Not really. No, they're not.
It's
all in. They're social media friendly, so they're all in a portrait format, ready to go. So you don't get that real wide field of view. It's actually quite a normal field of view.
I noticed on his stories, you get a little pair of glasses on them.
Yeah,
when they use
shows
them.
it's on.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, just referencing that quickly one more time. So we've got the Spooner 50 Club. You can win one of those by catching a 50-pounder now anywhere in the UK. And as Damo says, you've got to prove you've caught it in the UK, and we will be vigilant on that.
From now.
Yeah, from now, from this date forward.
Onward.
What is the date? What's the date today? Where are we?
26th.
It is 27th of May. And you've got to send your entries into spooners50@korda.co.uk. That's spooners50@korda.co.uk. And then we'll have a look through them and we'll pick, obviously, if you catch a legitimate 50-pounder, you're going to get one.
Decent.
But yeah, it's going to be cool, that. Looking forward to it. Right, so away from Spooner, we'll talk about his fish when he's next in. Tom's been fishing. he's caught quite a few.
Really?
So he's back. He's back. Something he's doing's working. Yeah, tell us where you've been, Tom, and what you've had.
Okay, so it's been 2 weeks, isn't it? So I've had 2 trips since we were last sitting down. The first, both at Wrasbury. I actually had 4 weeks of Wednesday to Friday booked out in May, but to fish at Wrasbury. But the first week was taken over by underwater because that led on another week. So I lost the first week. The second week was the first time I went back, which I'll talk about in a second. And then I went back last week, but it got cut short by a night because my missus had to go up to Newcastle, so I had to get back for the kids. So I've essentially done 3 nights. The first night I went back, I sort of went directly into a swim that I fished exactly the same date the previous year, fishing long towards an island. And this time last year, I had a couple of trips where I hooked a lot of big fish and landed a lot of big fish. And I sort of thought that the same thing would happen. So I sort of broke my own rules a little bit and got there and sort of had that swim in mind, saw it was free and just went in there, didn't even look round. And that's like
something we preach quite a lot, isn't it?
It's poor, yeah. But I thought, because there's so many carp in there and the wind was blowing, it just looked unreal. I just thought, this is it. I know it's the right swim. Set up, got the rods out. They all went out lovely as well. And then I was sort of sitting there 4 or 5 hours had passed and nothing. And I was like, oh no. Then went to bed, and it's normally sort of an evening and morning swim. Didn't have a single bleep all the way through the night. Woke up in the morning and thought, they ain't here. This is not here. Like you'd be seeing them or something. But then at the same time, people are saying to me, not really showing much at the minute. So you've got all of that playing in the back of your mind as well. I was doing the same thing as I normally do, sort of mixture of cell, corn and pellet, little tiny pellets to sort of just take in the corn juice, and yellow pop-ups. Woke up in the morning, like I said, nothing had happened. So I thought, I'm just going to go and look down the other end, because I was fishing a swim called Blake's, and there's another swim down the other end called In Between, which I've also done well out of in last spring. Went down there, and as soon as I walked into the swim, one's nutted out and another one's nutted out. And I'm like, you idiot!
You got it wrong.
You've been sitting up there, and they've been going nuts.
But luckily, swim's available. By the sound of it,
swim's available again, yeah, which is insane, really. So I've reeled in, moved down the other end really quickly. Like I took a bucket down with me anyway, chucked it in the swim. And there were fish out in front of spring gates as well, but I didn't know the spots in spring gates, but I already know the spots in between. But I fished in between loads, and I sort of thought I wanted to go in spring gates to learn the spots, but because it was all happening, I was like, I just need to get out quickly. So decided to go in between. That's actually one thing I do, maybe wrongly or rightly, is fish the same swims over and over again. Do you do that?
Yeah.
I think there's value in that, but then I also think you miss out on other opportunities because you don't go in other swims.
I think once you get some swims, you get really good swims, don't you?
Yeah.
They're in a position in the lake where you're getting a lot of traffic. I would aim for those if I was. Well, I do aim for those because I've got limited amount of time.
Yeah.
So you've got to base it on. You can go and fish in the corner and learn the corner, but there might only be 3 carp in there. But out by the island at 100 yards, they're charging around all the time, and you're going to get more opportunities. So I think you do. It pays to learn the swim, and if you're catching, you can fine it down to like spots where you're just going to catch them from.
Yeah. No,
and if you're going regularly and you can keep bait going in.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother level, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's an argument for both, isn't there? I remember there's a syndicate I was on a few years back, and I went in the same swim so much. It was actually, I think I spoke about this before, but the swim was called Sidearm.
I thought they were going to say they're a bit boring.
No, it was a bit of a joke. It ended up getting called Side Adams,
right?
Just because I'd literally go in there all the time. And I think it's a confidence thing, isn't it? Until you have a bad session in somewhere, it doesn't happen. It's quite hard to start moving around and learning somewhere new if that's available.
It is.
And I've had that so many times, and that particular swim was a bit almost middle for diddle out in front of the weed beds, and like you say, Damo, you are going to be having carp pass you all the time.
Yeah.
It's one thing learning a new swim, but like you say, if you end up, I'm going to learn the corner instead of going in the middle flyer,
you can have like one swim on each bank, which is like the flyer what you think's the flyer, and that's the way to go, isn't it?
That's exactly what I was going to say. That's what I tried to do. They're actually, neither of them swims are flyers, but I think I would call them sort of maybe B+ swims. They're not like A grade, but the A grade swims are always taken.
Yeah.
So I tend to pick sort of B+ swims that are that get traffic, like you're saying, and then get to know them really, really well. Yeah. As soon as you get to know them really well, you can get out quick, and there's definitely value in being able to get out
getting out quick and being out and knowing when you're fishing it in the dark.
And
get your rods, you can even turn up in the dark and get them out.
Yeah.
Well, that you saying about, just before we move on, you saying about why you went in there and that preconceived idea, which is against what you say, unless you have, like you say, like I said before, unless you have an experience where it doesn't go well, if you're coming off the back of a really successful session somewhere, you aren't likely to. If the lake's pretty empty and you're not seeing loads, you are going to go back in there, aren't you? It's not a bad thing to do that.
Yeah, it's a massive temptation to, isn't it?
Yeah, because if you've had such a good session,
if conditions are the same, and all things equal, then why not?
Yeah, because you're always trying to find a pattern in something. So that was, for me, that was a bit of a pattern. It was like, okay, the wind's the same, the weather's the same, it's exactly the same date. It's been quiet at the lake, and when it was quiet at the lake this time last year, that's when it was really good on that spot. So I tried it. The other thing normally there is like there's normally two groups of fish. It's very rare that they're just down one end. That's the magic actually about the lake, is that there's always an opportunity. It feels like there's always an opportunity. But for some reason, I don't know whether they were going to go down the end to spawn or whatever it is. They haven't yet, but they were grouped up massively down the other end. So anyway, I went into the in-between, which is a swim I know really well. I know two different spots. I got the rods out really quickly. And within like 5 hours, I'd had 2 double bites. So it was like that's the I suppose the lesson on how important it is to be on fish. It's like you can do exactly the same thing in a swim that you know down the other end, but there's nothing, and you catch nothing, of course. And
if you'd stayed put and not going out a look, you never know those things, do you? And I know how many fish you caught during the session. So there's the difference between a red letter session and catching nothing, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Use your eyes, go and have a look.
Yeah, for sure.
There you go.
So
two
that
in the nets.
That was straight. That was within a couple of hours. I got the rods out, and when you sit there and you think, all of them rods are going to go.
Yeah.
There's no way I'm not going to.
He doesn't have
I knew that was coming.
I just fluke a big one.
But before we look at some of these fish, I am just going to say, we definitely want you to put in the comments below what you think of Tom's photography, because it's something that he takes very, very seriously. And there's some incredible catch shots here that Tom has done on his own. So
yeah, I do want to talk about the catch shots,
okay,
because I think people are going to hate on me, but it's not fair. So I'd literally, like proper double bites as well. Like I had one, picked the rod up. I had one rod that was short and 2 rods long towards the island, and I was sitting there thinking, but literally before I had the double bite, if I get one, I want it to be on the long rod first, because if I am to get another one, I'm going to be okay getting the short one in. But it was the other way round. So the short rod ripped, picked up into it, and it's like stripping line towards the island, and then it sort of almost went over my middle rod, and the middle rod went pulled up tight, and I was like, when you're like looking at the line thinking, has it gone over? And I was like, fuck, it hasn't. Sorry. I was like, oh no, it hasn't. Then I thought, I'm gonna unloose, because then you're like, this one's gonna get snagged in the island if I don't pick it up, but this one I've definitely got on anyway. So then I was like, put the rod down on the shorter rod that's now stripping towards the island. I've had to sort of put it on tightish clutch, but back on the rest, line round the side of the buzzer so it isn't just ripping through the buzzer. Picked up the other rod, walked back and got that away from the island. But this is also trying to get in the island. And that one's going. So I'm thinking, oh no. Yeah. And at this moment, I'm thinking I'm going to have 2 bites and I'm going to lose them both, because I'm trying to get this one away and that one's going to fall off because I've only had it on for like 20 seconds or something. Turns out I've got them both in. I think that was. I think there's a scaly mirror. No, I think.
Well, that's all right. You've had a lot of fish in this session.
Yeah. So anyway, that sort of scene happened multiple times. I ended up catching 10 I caught 10 in 24 hours. Landed them all.
Yeah. For those that are listening, we're looking at a aerial shot of a carp on an unhooking mat. There's no catch shot here.
Look at the crocs in the bottom.
Yeah, I know.
No, I will say that I take a lot of pictures on the mat. And
we'll come on to that. We'll come on to that.
Yeah, okay, we'll talk about it in a minute.
Yeah.
I think that was 30. I think that was 31. That one.
Okay.
Is the list of fish?
Well, you're weighing them at least.
No, I weigh them. Yeah.
Yeah, you weigh them.
Well, I'll weigh the bigger ones.
We'll get the lads to whack a few up, and you can talk us through some of the weights and the.
Okay, I think that's the 31-pound mirror I caught. Okay, so 31.2 and 26 first of all, 26 scaly mirror that was lovely, and then I had a sort of run of mid-20s, and then I had a 35.8 common in the night off of the short spot again.
Yeah.
And then I finished with a 28 common at the end.
That was the one I'd punished Tom to death, going, just can you hold some of these carp up? They'd be so lovely for the podcast. And then he said, I've had a lovely 35.8 common, and I have listened to you. Wait till you see this one. It's exactly the same. But yeah.
Have you got the picture of the 35?
Big common. We got the picture of the big common, Kev. Let's have a look. We're going to get it up.
This one was in the middle.
There you go. That was the one I got. You're going to love
that is a lovely carp. That.
Well, we know that. We can see it. It would have looked a lot nicer held up as well.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, you can't sling them there.
Yeah.
You can leave them in the net for a little while, but there's not that many people walking around, which is another lovely thing about it. And nobody walked past me when they were in the nets, and I haven't got self-take kit. So I'm happy to
Mate,
pick.
there's nothing wrong with doing that.
There isn't, though, is there?
No,
but I think some people,
loads
of people get aggy with me about it, and I'm like, it doesn't bother me. Like especially because we do so much filming and everything else. It's like normally that moment of like getting them out is totally taken over by pictures and filming and chatting and trying to think about what you've got to say for the story and what people have got to learn.
Yeah.
And, all of that moment is often just totally taken away. So especially after I've just done 3 weeks of underwater filming, I just didn't want any of that. I just wanted to get the fishing in there. I was having a proper look at it on the mat, have a little chat to it, and then I'll put it back.
I was going to say that. Are you still taking a moment just to actually like look them over and enjoy actually the fish on the mat, or is it a case of like a bit like speed fishing almost, where you know you've got another bite coming?
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
When it's a nice 35 common like that, or I think I had a 26 scaly and a couple of other scaly ones that were just lovely, I have a proper moment and have a look at them and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But because I want to catch as many as I can, and there's a couple of real big ones in there. There is an element of like, okay, that was great, but that's not that's
that's a lovely fish.
That was great, but it's not one of the ones I want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, okay, and it's the part that process of getting as many as I can and working it out and getting the most out of the swim is the bit that I find enjoyable, not necessarily the picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I lean towards getting the rod back out quickly. And getting on to the next one.
I totally relate to that. Do you know what I mean? I think I don't take that many pictures of fish anyway. I'm happy with like 2 of each side, even if it was in PB. I get my enjoyment from if I'm chasing it, catching it, looking at it in the net, the whole thing about catching it. And as long as I've got one photograph of it, I really don't care. You know, because the jobs we do, and when I first started, photographs were really important because there wasn't any film. We were doing it all. It was all photography, so it was an important side of it. But for me, I am the same.
You put a 49-pounder back.
Yeah, 49.15.
God, and wasn't that an accident though?
It was, but yeah. I'd fish the lake. There's a set of 3 of them, and they were called the fucking hell, what are they called? The B mirrors or something. I can't remember. What
Never get old, Tom.
There was
never get old.
Oh no,
that happens all the time.
They were called the little heads. That's what it. Little heads A, B, and C. Right. So I'd caught 2 of them. I can't remember which ones, but I caught them both 2 or 3 times each. Right. And I think B and C looked very similar. So I caught this one night. I had a run of big fish, and I really felt like, the queen of the lake was going to make the mistake. So I've got this fish in, I played this fish in, I hooked it, and I thought it was the big one, right? I've played it in the dark, didn't want to look in the net, didn't want to see it, I just wanted to look in the net and see it. So I've landed it. It was an epic fight. Everything about it was just like fantastic. It was just great. And I turned my torch on, looked in the net and thought, it's you again. Anyway, I got him out and I thought, I'll weigh him. Weighed him, looked at him on the mat and thought, I wasn't 100% certain, but I was 99% certain it was one I'd already caught. So I just took a couple of shots with it on the mat, put it back, and I sat down and thought, I'm not so sure about that. Anyway, I rung the bailiff, and I went, I've caught Little Leg B again. He went, are you sure? Because he sort of knew.
Yeah.
I went, I'm not sure. I'm going to send you the picture. And he phoned me back. He went, "No, mate, that's the one." And it was a really rare one. Lovely carp.
See, in that situation, that I know you were saying the same as Tom, you can relate to it, but that's not. You would have loved to have had a shot.
Yeah, I would have loved
that
to.
one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's no one there, right? And I've got it. I'm chasing this carp, this one fish, and that is all that matters. And I've caught some lovely carp doing that, but you've just got the focus. And I'm thinking, I'm running out of time. That night I was meant to go out to dinner at 6:00 in the evening. I laughed it all off, and I thought, it's midnight now. I've probably got an hour, and I need to go. So it's like I need to get the rod back out there and have another go. But it's not because I don't appreciate the carp. I really appreciate carp and the form and what they look like and their history and all the rest of it. But if it's raining and it's dark, unless it's like some absolute worldy carp, I'm not taking a photo. I'm not getting all my kit out to do it.
I feel like you've probably made more effort in the last 6 months, Damian, since we've been doing these. Just because obviously
a little bit.
It gives us a nice talking point where we obviously say make sure you get some bits.
Are you having a go at me because I'm still not making an effort?
No, because I actually think it's actually worked out a really good talking point, because I don't know what you guys think, but I think now with social media, it's such an amazing place to see all these incredible carp, and obviously it's how we learn about where some of these are from, and then we go on to target them and catch them. But I do think that maybe it's that moment of, like you say, getting in and actually enjoying the moment and putting it back is lost, because I think a lot of people now, it's only halfway back from playing it in, and they're thinking about where they're going to have the photo taken, and I'll post that tonight, and even got the carp in.
I know people used to like get a fish in the net and they're ringing all their mates, just to tell them, mate, I'm not all about that.
No.
I have total respect for the fish I'm catching, right?
Yeah.
But like 25-pound commons that I've been catching for 40 years, I'm never going to look at the photograph of it.
No.
In all reality, even a 35-pound common.
Yeah.
But if it's part of the story, it's great. But
Bobby Taylor said that about you next door when you had the big one the other week. He came in and he went, he's so blasé, Damo, isn't he? Bobby Taylor's one of our guru specialists, and he said, I was sitting there asking him what he'd got up to at the weekend. He said, "Oh, no, nothing." He said, "Did you fish?" He went, "No." He went, "Oh, yes, I did. I had that big one, 57 pound." He said, "I thought, surely you would remember that and just say it." So it just goes to show, doesn't it?
Our memories. But
I'm exactly like that. I like to keep it underground.
Guys, it's all about what you yourself get from it.
Of course.
Not what you can get out of the gram or whatever else it is.
Yeah.
It's, what I do for me is great for me. What Tom does for him is great for him.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, if you're happy and you're doing what you love, then do what you want.
Yeah,
it's weird scenario, isn't it? It's like sometimes I have love-hate relationship with the picture things. Like, I don't want to do it at the time, but if it's a really special fish, I love a really good picture.
Yeah,
so Kev's taken some pictures for me over Walthamstow of certain fish and stuff like that, and Ben's taken some as well before on some of the monster carps and that. I absolutely love them pictures, and sometimes when I'm bored, I flick through my old pictures on my Instagram and look through them and think that's so good, and it's lovely to have the picture. Yeah, but actually, at the time, most of the time, I enjoy the moment more if I don't have to do all of that. Yeah. So I don't know, man. It doesn't matter to me. I actually wished I liked photography. Like I've said it before on I did a topography podcast or something, or an interview. But I wished I was into the photography and into the arty sort of side like Kev is, because it's like I love looking at it. Yeah. But I just
can't be bothered.
It's not even can't be bothered. It's I just don't think I care about it. It's weird.
You don't. I've sat with you a few times with Kev where he's got everything up on the computer you need. Right, that's what you need. It's all in the basket. Shall I order it? And you go, I've got my phone, Kev. I ain't doing that. I can't be bothered.
No, I just can't.
You're just not going to do it, are you?
I was saying to you just before we started, I cleared out my garage because I'm having some building work done on my house. I cleared out all of my garage, and there was two. I found this like little tracker bag. I was like, I wonder what's in that, and it was a camera, all rusty, like a Canon. With a lens, and I had to throw it away.
Jesus. Did you check if there was a memory card in it?
No.
Might be some cracking match shots in there. You've missed out there.
I actually didn't check if there was a memory card in it. But this is what I'm saying. Yeah. I obviously intrinsically don't care about it. Yeah. Which is, I think some people find weird, especially because like my whole fishing life has been on camera and film, I think people would think that I like that side of it, but it just doesn't bother me.
No, well, like you said, you're in a privileged position, a slightly more fortunate position, that lots of your big treasured memories that are in films and stuff like, you've always got a worldly cameraman there like Kev that's going to take cracking shots for you that you're going to get. So I know from loads of carp you've caught over the years that I've seen that are just quick shots on the phone from your mate that most people would be wanting like a proper camera shot of, and that, like you said, everyone wants different things from it, don't they? It's not all about that. But I bet there's not many people nowadays that are into social media that could match shot a 30-pounder and slip it back. It just wouldn't be. Everyone wants to hold one up now and stick it on the gram. And
do you know what? Maybe I would feel in a different position if I wasn't in the position I'm in.
Mm-hmm.
If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like maybe if I wanted to make a career out of it, then I'd be making. But I'm already here.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't need to.
I think you also, like, when you have trips like you had at I can't remember the place, when you just average it like 50 pounders or something ridiculous.
Oh, at Crete.
At Crete, yeah.
29
50s. Like, that just spoils you a little bit. And if you've got to pick them all up for a camera, you ain't going to do that, are you?
No, well, we did. I picked up all
everyone.
pictures for Monster Carp. So
such a show off. He loves the gram. He just wanted to show off.
No, that was for Monster Carp.
Yeah.
But no, I know what you're saying. I don't know. I think maybe the year, the decade and a half of filming has maybe taken that fun away. But I've always been a bit like that with pictures. You look back at all. I'm not very good at filing stuff.
Same.
Like, I haven't got like good albums. Like, all my pictures, even from the manor, I don't even know where they are. Like, if I have to find a picture of the Annie or something like that, I have to search for it on Google.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't got my own pictures.
Googling yourself again. I catch you doing that at least once a week.
You actually do that.
No, it's interesting. It'd be really good to know, actually, in the comments below, how many people do just take shots on the mat these days and slip them back, or whether it's really important to have photos. It'd be interesting to see if that's still quite a mixed bag. Like, a lot of people.
So some of the lakes I've fished lately, they want a picture of the fish, and they want to know how big it is.
Yeah.
So the fisher owner wants to see what it's doing.
Yeah, both sides.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
You know.
I always take a picture though, even if it's in the. I haven't sent you anyone's in the net because I don't want anyone to ever say you didn't catch 10.
Yeah.
But I can show you 10 pictures of fish that trip.
Yeah.
So it's not like I don't want people to start getting in. Oh, he's sort of like not taking pictures so he can sort of say that he's caught more or not what he's caught.
You don't do that anymore.
Not anymore.
No.
Not anymore. No. But I've got all of the pictures. They're just not me holding them. You know.
Yeah.
It's like I'm sitting there searching on Google. Mirror on mat. Screenshot, send it to you.
I've seen that one before. No, it's interesting. It's a great topic, that.
Yeah.
What about you, Damo? You been out?
I haven't been out, mate. No. Most of the lakes I fish, or they're either spawning or closed because the close season. Some, got traditional close. I was going to go today with the lad, but his mum's put her back out, so
right.
I'll have to go.
Hard labour. He's getting her to do it at home.
Oh, yeah, making her do the garden again.
No, mate. I've got a hod carrying the bricks.
Yeah. While you're inside practicing your self-tape photography in the lounge.
You've been out, Reed?
Have I been? I've done one night. I did not this weekend. The weekend before, I think I did Friday night, maybe. Got it totally wrong, actually. I will just talk about it too. Not very interesting story, but basically done the same sort of thing again.
Yeah.
Lake was fairly quiet. Went back in, didn't see anything. Went back in where I'd had a fish. This is back on the back lake, so not the lake where the big common from, the lake behind. Went back in the swim where I'd had the fish from the previous week. Slightly deeper water. It was quite warm. Then one showed in the swim to my left in the much shallower water, like half the depth, when I was just going to bed, and I thought, well, I hope they're not all in there. Then when I got up in the morning, like prime bite time, I must have seen like 3 or 4 shows. Right. I had to go. Went, and the lake doesn't do loads of bites, and a guy went. After I went in the morning, a guy went in the afternoon, had 3 nice 30-pounders in an afternoon, all in the shallow area. And it made me think, and it's one of those situations where I got it wrong, should have gone in there. But I think this time of year when fish are starting to get together for spawning, I don't know what you think, but I think it doesn't really matter how small the swim is, how tight the area is. If they want to be somewhere, getting ready for something, they just stay there.
Yeah.
And that's obviously how he was managed to catch 3 fish. Yeah. He was catching them in this little area, getting the rod back out and catching another one. You do that most of the time throughout the year. It's game over, isn't it?
Yeah.
The minute you've spooked them out the swim. But so I think that's a really good point. If you're out now and they haven't spawned and there's lots of fish in an area, chances are they're going to stay there and you're probably going to catch them. But
yeah. Well, actually, one thing I was going to say. In fact, I hadn't. First of all, in the that first trip I went on, the short spot I ended up the short area that I normally fish wasn't there. So there was just pretty much weed everywhere, and I ended up fishing on the weed. And I don't often do this, but I sort of thought to myself, they're there feeding anyway, or they're there at least showing. Can't find a spot. I would have ruined it if I'd properly looked around to try and find an area. So I was casting around with my lead with my rig on it, and the areas that felt, when you cast out and you can feel weed on the way down and you get a drop. If I was casting into that, which I guess is sort of higher weed sort of sticking up off the bottom like this, and maybe some weed in between. If I was doing that then reeling in, I was getting lots of weed on my rig because I think I was like pulling through it, and it's quite dense. And then another area that I was casting to, I was casting out, and I could barely feel the lead hit the bottom, so it's very soft. But actually, when I reeled in, it was coming cleanly off the bottom, and then I was having no weed on my thing. So I'm guessing it was like sort of shallow sort of silkweed like that, like it's flat but quite dark. So I thought to myself, I'll fish on that. And when I first put it out, I wasn't very confident in it, but because I tested so many times in that area that there was no weed on the hook, I thought I probably will get bites on it. And I just slid the bead up the lead core, probably about 7 inches, something like that. So I knew that the spinner rig would be sitting on top of the weed, and I ended up catching 4 on that rod. And I think that's something that I don't do enough, that I think if I'd done more, that I would definitely catch more fish. Because that soft silkweed, I think if you went and looked in the boat, you'd think you can definitely present on that. But when you cast out and you don't get the drop you want, you're like, I'm not fishing there. So I think a lot of the time we're cancelling out areas that are really not scary to the carp, so we should be fishing on them, but we definitely shouldn't be cancelling them out.
On that last day of underwater, when I was there, Daniel had baited in some sort of candy floss weed that was coming up off the bottom. So they're half boilies. They were scattered all over it. The fish were coming in, eating them. So on that last day, we decided that I'd wind in from the spot we caught from, and we'd fish there, and I'd just fish there with a chod right in it. And the fish were, for 2 days we were feeding on it, and then like the day on the Saturday night, we went in there Sunday, it was just wrecked. They were coming in, heads in the weed. It was like, they don't care about the weed. They don't, and if you can present properly in that, they're gonna eat it. However, I wasn't presented properly. I had a rig right in front of the camera. It was too high off the bottom, like a chod rig on it. I had one carp come up to it, put his lips on it, and go off. Just knew there was something wrong with it. Probably a combination of the clear water, because it was above the weed. I think you could probably fish what you just said and either have a really low pop up,
like on a spinner,
but very, very low to the bottom. So it just, the whole lot just lays on the weed and it comes down, settles on it. Or you could probably even get away with a bottom bait. Maybe even if you put like one of Regan's old tricks of those foam nuggets in a body funnel web. Squash it right down so it's like a boilie, and then just hook it onto the mesh and just slow the bait down as it comes in, and it just settles really slowly on the thing.
The only thing I worry about that is that because I was still spomming over the top of it, because it was the best way of getting the bait out. In fact, I only had 10 millers with me, so I couldn't throw in stick. I probably would have thrown sticked around it and just fished to pop up, but I had to spom. So then I was thinking, I'm putting the bait right on it around where the weed is, and I don't want fish coming in, eating the rest of it, and the hook getting buried in the weed, which I think is probably what would happen with a bottom bait.
I think they'll just eat it out of there, because when a good few years ago, when Toby was like 5, I went fishing with Regan, and Regan was fishing in a swim where it was floor to ceiling like that, and I couldn't even believe his lines were going in it. And he was just fishing with little leads, really little, as light as he could get away with, a 2-foot super silk hook link, big bottom bait, and did the body funnel web trick. I think he had 2 or 3 bits of foam in there, and was just chucking it in the weed. It wasn't even getting to the bottom, and he just bombarded with boilies everywhere, so they were all at different levels, and he caught loads. And if I'd never seen that, I'd have never believed what had happened. That's ultimate confidence. That is fishing in their front room, and they don't give a shit what you do.
I think there's something really in that at the minute. I think people are getting, everyone's getting so good at fishing to spots. It's like 21 wraps over there, 16 wraps there, 32 wraps there. It's like years ago, I think spot fishing was something that only people that were really good could do. Like, you didn't even have wraps and everything, did you? Whereas the last sort of 5 years, everyone's fishing spots with 2 or 3 rods, and that the idea of not being on them spots but still being presented in areas where they're just always happy to feed, I think you could catch loads like that if you got really good at doing it. So I'm gonna test it. I'm gonna fish 2 rods to the spot like normal. I'm just gonna keep trying with 1 rod in the weed, and if I feel like if I can get good at that, I'm gonna batter them.
Well, that what you're saying about the only situation I was thinking back there was with the fishing a helicopter and the spinner. I think you're totally right, Dame. I think they're in there and eating it. They're going to chew through it and eat it. But that, I remember fishing the aquarium. I did a film there with Tracker, and it had like...
That sounds hard, doesn't it?
Eh?
That sounds hard.
What?
The aquarium.
The aquarium. I know. No, it's because it's just so beautifully like chin clear.
It's not because it's stuffed full of them.
No, it's not stuffed full of them. Lovely,
like
beautiful old carp. But I'd had a few... but they were all sitting in the weed. Like in the weed, I don't know what weed this was, but it's like about a foot off the bottom, and then lots of longer bits sticking up. It's like that Pot McGeeton type, almost like, is that like the cabbagey one?
It's like the Pot McGeeton's like it's got like a big leaf on it. Isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was terrible. Like, you'd never cast in it. Yeah, but I was using a boat, one of your favourites, boating a long way over to this bait boat. Yeah, no, but no, it's bait boat.
Do you know he's got a boat? He's taking a fucking boat out in a boat.
What do you mean?
He's got a radio controlled boat to go out in his Tim's boat.
No,
because he's so shit at baiting.
Put some context on this, Tom.
We don't want any context. That's fine.
No. I'll show you it when I do it.
Cheating.
Basically, there's some areas that I'm going to be fishing on there where getting the rod out is going to be impossible. So I've got one of them little Ridge Monkey boats that's going to, I think, it'd be a massive edge. But I'll talk more about that, and you'll see why I've done it. And then when I'm holding up a £40 Thames mirror, you can say, I'll let you off.
Oh, it's on the Thames, that's fair.
But anyway, I ended up putting the bead. I thought I'd caught about 2 or 3 fish, was struggling, and I could see they were all in that weed. I'd gone over in the rowing boat, and they were all there. Well, you stopped it though, didn't you, with the bait boat reference? Or it would have been done, you know? It's out of order, isn't it?
Can't go.
Right. It's going to be rubbish now, isn't it? No, I'm going to get there. What I'm saying is I tried the same thing. I pulled the bead right up.
Yep.
On the, I was fishing naked using HeliSafe. Pulled the bead right up. I'm just going to chance landing right in it. Put a little bit of hemp in the boat, drove it out. They just dropped it off. Thought there's no way that's going to be. Well, I don't know how that's going to sit. And Jesus Christ, it was just like absolute churner after churner, dropping it straight in there. The spinner, I never got to go and see how it was sitting, but I can only imagine it was sitting under not a lot of tension, just laid on top of that weed, and they were just coming in and smashing it, and the bites were just ripping off.
Yeah, don't hate it.
And it just totally undone everything. And I thought I could have, like you said, it was too far to cast, but if you could have cast there, you could have done the same thing and you'd have caught loads. Loads of people avoid the weed, don't they?
Yeah.
When it's exactly where you want to be, majority of the time.
Yeah, it's that really soft drop that was the thing that done me in there, because I find it really hard to put the rod on the rest like that, because you think I'm just not fishing, but you think, right, you are, because you weren't really in any weed, and you've slid the hook link up even further, so it's got to be, they've got to see it at least. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Dan was fishing like that at Elstow on those features.
Was he?
With his sweet corn, on top of that low line silkweed.
Cousin Colin. Is it called Cousin Colin?
Something like that, yeah.
Maybe start thinking and questioning rigs the other day when we had that podcast, the last podcast where we talked about rigs, and you were talking about trying the big long fluoro one.
Yeah.
When I got up in the morning, caught nothing because I didn't go in the real shallow bit. I was driving along thinking I should have gone in there and I should have put them on. Yeah, they would have been perfect in there, really soft.
You don't want to end up like disappearing up your own arse.
No, but you can though, can't you? Quite easily.
I had a moment that in between them trip when I was coming up to my trips, obviously I'd been on not a bad run, but I hadn't really caught anything, but I hadn't really been enough, and sort of spent 3 weeks in front of the cameras, and it's like there's not that can really do you in that, especially after seeing that long one. But after that trip when I'd caught 10, I thought if I'd have been using them long rigs, a couple of the times I'd have cast out, they would have tangled, definitely, or not been sitting right. And in the moment, you wouldn't know that they're tangled. So hours would have gone by without a bite. Then you would have thought something's wrong. You would have reeled it in. Whereas within that time, my spinning rigs had been sitting out there presented, got bites, been put back out, got bites, and been put back out again. That's the magic of that.
Our rigs are very similar in the way they work, and they're agricultural, aren't they? Really, compared to what we were doing. What I was doing with Scott's rig. Yeah, that worked in the moment. Yeah, because of what was happening, the clarity, the light, and the clean gravel bottom. But although I've learned a lesson there, I'm still going to use what I used before because I caught well on it. And
most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
Yeah, I'm the same. There'll be a situation that crops up when it's very clear, and I only want one bite, and I can definitely watch the hook link kicks out, and it's not tangled, and all of that sort of thing. That I would put something like that on now. But in general, when you're trying to get lots of bites and be presented most of the time, I still haven't changed.
Yeah.
Which is annoying on some side, because you think that it's not perfect, but it is perfect presentation.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, no doubt we're going to talk loads more about rigs as people.
What I was going to say was I did go down to see Jerry Hammond.
Yeah.
So I went down to the Brook Lake, which is where I'm going to go fishing next. So that opens in about a week's time, I think. Had a tour around with Scott Sweetman. I'm fishing. Yeah, Brook is the one which it's got a fish called bullnose in it. It's a £50 common.
Yeah, special carp that.
The listeners probably seen Terry Earn with it. He did a little film on it just after Scott caught it. I think same thing. Yes, stunning carp, really nice, lovely little lake, full of weed. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, nice.
Really. Do you like little lakes?
I get bored, mate. Yeah. So there's quite a lot to do on that lake. There's different areas and that. So I think I'll enjoy it over there. It's such a stunning carp. It's
unbelievable.
Carp,
really worth the effort. Yeah.
That leads me on actually to something that I did want to touch on, and that was the fact that you can't go at the moment because it's closed for spawning. It'd be interesting to see what both your thoughts are. We haven't discussed this previously. Spawning carp, like it's like a real hot topic, isn't it? Around this time of year, every year, people moaning about people going. You shouldn't be going. They were spawning last week, and I think people get too over the top with carp spawning.
Yeah.
You're not going to catch a spawning carp, are you? 9 times out of 10, it's just not going to happen. So you're only really at a lake wasting your time, is my opinion. I'm not saying I go when the lake's spawning, because I don't. It's one of those things where you tend to just not go, don't you? Because carp are spawning. But the real reality of it is, even if you did go, you're probably not going to catch. And if you do catch, you're bound to catch one of the carp that's not in that group that is currently spawning. So what are your sort of opinions on spawning in general? And
I wouldn't fish. I'd wind in a spawning carp. I think you've got a couple of things. You get a lot of spawning carp going through lines. I think it's a really good chance of foul looking one. And I think obviously you're not going to catch them while they're spawning, but they are well catchable once they finish spawning, because they're hungry, aren't they? But they're probably not in the best of condition. I actually used to like the close season, but the weather was different. You're talking about if you had a close season now, it'd have to be a bit later on because it's warmer and all the rest of it. I like the close season because it gives the lakes a rest, gives you a rest. Do you know what I mean? Everything has a bit of a breather. But the lakes that are switched on, they shut their lakes when the fish start spawning, leave them for 6 weeks, whatever it is, let them get over it, and they're in pretty good nick when you come back to fish for them. So I'm all right with that.
I think the trouble, Tom, hold on a second. I think with the trouble now, like you were saying, the weather's different now, everything, the climate and everything. Yeah, the trouble we get now, I think, every year is the amount of times the different groups spawn in the lakes. So the lakes end up shutting like 3, 4, 5 times.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody that only gets a certain amount of time to go, it can be quite a frustrating period, can't it? And they're not all spawning because it's already been shut for spawning. They're not likely to be. Do you think the same groups spawn again, or do you think it's always different?
I don't know the
carp?
science. I imagine there'd be different carp, but they might spawn. I don't know, mate. You'd have to ask Sam Scott. But me personally, I just avoid it. I don't want to catch them when they're skinny and got ripped up and whatever, vulnerable.
What was you going to say, Tom?
No, there's quite a lot of time.
Loves to spawn.
No, I love to fish with spawning carp.
Yeah, cast a lot.
No, I really don't.
But you're casting spinners.
Yeah.
No, I think
2 on at once.
There's probably quite a lot to unpack with it, I think.
Yeah.
I think, first of all, I don't want to fish for spawning carp. Nobody should fish for spawning. Like, if they're actually spawning, do not have your rigs near them. I think that's completely unfair. Leave them to it. But nowadays, there's lots of lakes with different ages of fishing. So the fish spawn over a long period of time, it seems. And I think everyone gets to a spot where they're pretending they care about them too much. And then you end up with a lake with a load of people moaning about everyone, and the lake closing for over the space of 10 weeks, 8 weeks within the 10 weeks or something. And people are paying a ticket to go fishing. And I think it's annoying when fishery owners shut it for too long. I really do. Because I don't want to sound bad, But if you no, like it, I think there's a lot of virtue signalling with it. It's like, I really care about it, you don't, you're the bad person, I'm the good person. Where it's like, well, you're fishing for them. Yeah, you're going to try and put a hook in its mouth and grab it out of the water and have a picture with it for 5-10 minutes. Won't. I won't. Yeah, I'll put it back within a minute because I'm a good person. So I think it's like it annoys me, all of that. It's like, don't be a dickhead. Don't fish them when they're actually spawning. The problem with it is that you can't trust everyone to do the right thing. So then you have to put a rule in place. But then the rule gets more and more safe, and you end up not being able to fish through May and June, which I think is ridiculous. So I want to be able to fish all of the time. I would just wish people would be more sensible with it. Don't actually fish when they're doing it. Take a sort of sensible look at it and go, right, we'll give them a week or whatever, and we'll come back when they're not actually spawning. Everything's fine. Or you have, like at Wrasbury at the moment, they close half the lake, the end that they spawn at. So as soon as they start doing it, they close half the lake. You can fish down the other end in the deep end if they're not spawning. And I think that's sensible. And it's like for a week or two they close it. Everyone can get on with their life. But yeah, it annoys me when people are like, it even annoys me, like when people have got it on the mat and there's like a goalkeeper here and everyone's touching the carp like this. It's like you've just reeled it in with a hook in its mouth. Yeah. Don't pretend to care that much when you obviously don't. Yeah. So
everyone looks after them now, don't they? Like you say, there is that over the top element.
Yeah, look after them. But if you tear them out, put a little bit of what's its name on it. Don't have it out the water too long. They're living creatures. Don't be horrible. Yeah. Get them back. And don't fish for them when they're actually spawning. But it all gets out of hand like everything else. Even like just everything these days, everyone's too sensitive, aren't they? And it ruins the good part of something.
It does. Like you were saying there, Damian, like a close season. Like we would never want to go back to that traditional close season, though, would we? Because there's such a big chunk that we used to miss out on, isn't there?
I'm not saying that.
We now get to enjoy such a good. Now that rule has gone completely, apart from on the rivers, we now get that really nice chunk where we used to not have, didn't we, all them years ago, where you catch carp at prime super weights looking amazing. Like that was all gone, wasn't it? It all got taken away from you almost. If you didn't catch them back end of the winter, that was it. It was game up, wasn't it, till they'd spawn. So we do get that magical period now. So I don't think anyone would ever want to go back to a traditional close season, would they?
No. And certainly the fishing tackle business wouldn't want to. That's for sure. But yeah, I just think, the lakes just look better when they've had a close season. Everything gets a chance to recover, doesn't it? The work gets done and all the rest of it. But then I suppose it depends if it's a commercial fishery. It needs income, doesn't it? So they're going to be open all the time, aren't they?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think this is a subject.
It's got to sit on the fence.
I agree with you too. No, I was just going to. Like I said before, I do think there's that. I'm the same as you with the multiple closures, but I do get there is also a very hard thing for fishery owners to police, because if they spawn and they shut the lake for 4 weeks and then say, lads, back on, crack on, you're all right, goes hot again and they spawn again, what can he really do? Like if all of a sudden he doesn't shut it, he then looks like we cared about the ones that spawned before and now we don't care about this group. So I think it is hard to say once it's been closed once, that's it.
Yeah, but there's a lot of that though. It's people caring about what they look like, the decisions they're making, when really they should just literally say, if they're spawning, don't fish for them. If we catch you fishing for them, you're out. That's what I would do. But again, it's hard, isn't it, I suppose?
I think, like you said, you could go down a rabbit hole with this topic, because I think you're going to get loads of people that have different opinions. It'd be interesting to see those in the comments, see what people think. I don't think anybody here, like you say, wants to be fishing for spawning carp. It's just there is definitely probably a medium ground that maybe doesn't get explored that much.
I mean, I think when you join a club or a syndicate, the rules are rules. Whatever he says goes, and people moan about it. Don't fish for them. Don't fish your lake.
There's definitely something that I think you touched on it earlier on, David. There's definitely something in that when they do spawn. When you're chasing a big fish or something, or you're struggling to get down the lake and it happens. There is that almost like a bit of a, that's a relief. I can't go. No one else can either, though. So it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to catch it. Neither Z. So there's definitely an element of that as well. Yeah. Well, let's leave it there. Yeah. But we will just say right at the end, let me just touch on this one more time. The Spooner 50 Cup has landed. We've got a certain amount of these. We obviously want to be giving them out. The aim really here is to give out absolutely hundreds before Spooner catches a 50-pounder. That would be the dream.
And send him the invoice.
Yeah, he's definitely fishing harder. Like I say, he's on what he's on now, like a 10-day campaign at the moment trying to catch fish. So he's definitely up for it, and he wants to catch his 50-pounder.
He might catch a 50-pounder this week.
He might.
He's back on, what's the little lake called?
Brimley.
No. He was friendly last week.
Northwick. Yeah. And if he does, we'll happily give him one of these.
Yeah.
We'll give him a special one, sorry.
And it doesn't take the buzz away from this, because obviously we know why we're doing it, but it's still a really special cup, quality from Yeti, and we hopefully will give a load out. So if you do catch your 50, we want evidence, and you've got to send it to spooners50@korda.co.uk. But until next time, we'll see you later.
Cheers, boys.
Cheers, mate.